So this is really an intuitive art and it's not a science. I'm going to give you some how-tos, but I'm going to kind of also throw that out the window.
Ignite your best life. Yoga is the spark.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Yoga Hacks podcast. Today, we're continuing my conversation with Ellen Brenner, but more specifically, we're deep diving in this episode into aromatherapy, in particular, how to integrate essential oils into your practice for chakra healing, chakra balancing, exactly what oils to use on specific chakras, and how to use your intuition to work with the oils that are going to be the most healing for you. We also cover a lot about essential oil safety and so much more. So I'm super excited to share and continue this interview with Ellen. Let's get started.
Okay, and this is important because a lot of people get really excited and they get started with essential oils, which, come in a bottle and they're drops that come out of it, and they get started one way or another, and they think of them as essential oils. And essential oils are really two things. They come from nature, and they are used in a practice called aromatherapy. They're really a tool of a larger practice. And aromatherapy is another natural healing practice which uses pure and natural concentrated essences from aromatic plants. And they enhance the well-being of our mind, body, and spirit. They support our innate healing processes, and they can help to improve our quality of life. And so these aromatic essences, most commonly, they're in the form of essential oils. Aromatherapy is a form of herbalism and aromatic healing, which has been practiced, down through the ages since ancient times. But aromatherapy itself, as a specific branch, only dates back about 1,000 years when stills were first introduced, because essential oils are actually distilled. So modern aromatherapy actually got its start in the late 1930s. And today aromatherapy is employed in many ways. So it can be in the perfume and cosmetic industries, in skincare, in bodywork and spa treatments, and medical and clinical healing, which, by the way, those are by trained practitioners, and also in psychological and spiritual support. So most often aromatherapy is used in the form of inhalation and then topical use. Essential oils and extracts are generally safe. We at Plant Therapy really strongly encourage users to become familiar with the appropriate role of aromatherapy to create realistic expectations, as well as safe and appropriate practices. Those little drops in the bottle do come from nature. They're distilled down from plant parts such as flowers, leaves, wood, resins, and because they are distilled and they're highly concentrated, and I say they're little powerhouses that pack a potent punch. And so it does require knowledge about proper application, such as blending and dilution rates and proper storage. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, so no worries. It's a very expansive and dynamic field. There's always more to learn, whether you're a beginner or a professional practitioner. So, if you're just getting started, don't worry. Even as a professional, I have probably at this point 400 hours in learning and continuing to add. And every time I open something new, there's no end to the learning. So just start from wherever you are, come with a beginner's mind, and be comfortable with that. So there's holistic aromatherapy, which supports the mind, body, and the spirit. There's clinical aromatherapy, which is being used now in hospitals and a lot in hospice care, which deals with the physical body. There's aromatherapy for the mind, which is dealing with emotional body. And then there's this really cool part called subtle aromatherapy, which deals with the subtle body. So the spirit, the soul, the life force, our natural energy flow. And that's really what we're coming down to today when we talk about how aromatherapy is going to interact with the chakras. Brad, I want to back up just a minute, and you asked how aromatherapy works. And I just want to say that so if you're using before we get to the subtle aromatherapy, if you're using aromatherapy, let's say for holistic aromatherapy, that inhalation, our scent is the only It's the only scent that goes directly to the brain without passing go. So you inhale through the nose, it goes directly to the limbic system of the brain. Some have said in less than a second, but it's pretty instantaneous. And it goes right to the seat of the brain where we process and store emotions, memories, stress, and all those things. And it begins to impact those. And also when inhalation, it's actually the fastest route to the bloodstream. When we inhale, it goes into our lungs and it goes through the gas exchange there, and it's the fastest route to the bloodstream. So you're affecting both your brain and you're affecting your body. So that would be if you're practicing traditional aromatherapy. Subtle aromatherapy works a bit differently.
Sounds like what you're saying is that it's so powerful because through scent, it moves into our brain and therefore our nervous system immediately. It has an immediate effect.
Yes, absolutely. There's a blend that I have that has essential oils in it that are, known for balancing the nervous system. They're known for balancing the endocrine system or hormonal system and uplifting. And I have a fear of going over. I have a fear of heights, and where I live and where I have to commute, I have to go over a large, very high span bridge. And so when I'm at the toll booth, I take a whiff of this at the toll booth. I don't care what they think, and I take a big whiff of it, and I'm like going over the bridge like, all is well, all is great. Like, look at how pretty the water is down there, So that's how it works for me. Everybody's different, every oil is different, but in general, we could make a general statement that it works pretty quickly. So yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, tell us the difference between these two, because I don't know if I've heard of this, so I'm excited to learn.
Yeah. So, all right. So subtle aromatherapy is when we're using essential oils and other aromatic extracts to help balance the chakras and the subtle body overall. And most especially in combination with the other self-balancing techniques. If you combine aromatherapy with, your visualization, your yoga, your journaling, your meditation, it's just a wonderful synergy of the senses for the subtle body. I mean, it's kind of like a little turbo boost. And the way subtle aromatherapy works here is that thinking is that because I had mentioned before that that we look at these as drops in a bottle, but they really do come from nature. And that if we believe that everything in the universe and everything in nature is vibrating, then we can use essential oils as a form of vibrational medicine to influence our energy centers and our subtle bodies. So what I really love about this, my two passions are energy medicine and aromatherapy. And what I really love is we're taking the healing power of vibrational and energy medicine and the healing power of aromatherapy, and we're combining them in a synergy to support the subtle body. Patricia Davis, I believe, is credited, wrote the first book on subtle aromatherapy really in 1991. And Patricia Davis is credited as one of the mothers of modern aromatherapy. But she did not tell people for the longest time that she was also intuitive and using oils for intuitive purposes. I mean, they just thought people were going to think she was just a nut job. So she just didn't even talk about it. And finally, she just, after just working with herself and others for many, many years, she finally just decided to write the book. And this is all based on her intuition and her experience. And so we credit her with coining the term subtle aromatherapy. And while others may have been doing it and working with it, she sort of brought together that collective thought. And there's really three primary approaches. I don't want to say they're the only approaches, but when you're out there, you'll hear about the meridian system of energy. So essential oils are also used to support the meridian system, which is used in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine. And then we're talking today about the chakra energy system, which is coming from the yoga Ayurvedic energy medicine. And then also it's important general support, our natural energy flow. So things and words you would use in yoga as well, like things like grounding and uplifting and protection and insight and that sort of thing. So the way Jody Keim is another author and speaker on subtle aromatherapy, and the way she explained this is subtle aromatherapy uses the energetic properties of the essential oils to help bring balance to the human energy body to support optimal well-being. And the goal is, as we said before, is to restore balance or a healthy pattern of vibration. And so from a holistic standpoint, again, we were talking about the emotional and the physical realm, and in the subtle aromatherapy, we're talking about the vibration of the subtle body. And again, Jody mentions that they are very supportive in self-balancing techniques such as meditation and visualization and affirmation. So I just want to let that digest for a minute. And then I know your question earlier on was how to get started. And I want to add in and not only how to get started, but how to get started safely and appropriately.
So this is great. So I'm sure everyone at home is so intrigued and they're just wondering how to get started, because I think people do, like you say, they have so much excitement around buying these oils. They feel like they have this magical thing in a jar, and then it's almost, I mean, I know for me originally it was almost like a little disappointing because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with this, right? I didn't know how to use it safely. I didn't really know how to get started. So can you give us some general safety tips? And then, of course, I'm dying to hear kind of like what oils you recommend to use with what chakras and how to use them in that capacity.
When you're getting started in using subtle aromatherapy, it is different than how you're going to use it in holistic aromatherapy. And the three things that set it apart is, I know I'm repeating this, but you're bringing balance to the subtle body. It's really important that you're using them with intention, and again, positive intention. So when I blend, whether I'm blending some for pain for somebody or whether I'm blending for a subtle aromatherapy purpose, I'm always setting a positive intention before I start that blend. And let me tell you, if I'm in a bad mood, I don't blend. That's something I learned from a teacher. So yeah, and you also use very little oil. So, and that's a big difference. What is your primary concern to be addressed? So if you've got 10 things going on, like pick one, because you can't, in energy medicine, and you can't, you just can't balance everything at one time. So pick the thing that's bothering you the most or the greatest level of urgency. And then again, go back to determining what chakra you believe it's most closely aligned with. Choose your self-balancing modalities or your routine, as Brett mentioned, and then you're going to choose your oils to make a blend. And this is where I want to say something really important here. So this is really an intuitive art, and it's not a science. I'm going to give you some how-tos, but I'm going to kind of also throw that out the window. There's not really a this for that. And when you open different books or different authors on subtle aromatherapy and you're looking for oils, you're also not going to find complete agreement. And here's why. The three most important aspects to blending for subtle aromatherapy is one, again, setting the intention. Trust your intuition and inner knowing. Trust. There's so many times that I start a blend and it's like my intuition is yelling me, add rosemary, add bergamot. And I'm like, my head's going, why? That doesn't make any sense. And my intuition's saying, add rosemary. And my head's going, why? That doesn't make any sense. And finally, I just have to go with my intuition. I blend it. I go look up a couple authors and it totally made sense. So trust your intuition. And the third thing that you always want to do is, once you put some things together, always, how does it make you feel? So I'm going to offer up some things here to get you started. But just please, if you don't remember anything else, if you grab an oil, you could almost grab any oil, set an intention, trust your intuition, and see how it makes you feel. Now, that being said, when you're choosing oils, understand your issues, understand what you want to accomplish. It's really good when you either before you buy an oil or maybe you bought an oil intuitively, read about it and understand it, if you're intuitively drawn to it and how does it make you feel, that could be all you need to know. And also, what sense are you drawn to? Because this isn't one of the things where it's sort of like take your medicine, it's good for you. If you're adverse, if a scent affects you adversely, it's probably not going to help you energetically.
So this is really interesting. So what you're saying here is that even if someone is relatively new to oils, they can have an intuitive experience picking out the oils they want to use on any given day, or maybe even for any given chakra. And that might look like them maybe taking the bottle cap off, smelling it, sitting with that for a minute, seeing how it affects them, maybe smelling another one, and then deciding which they want to use, or if they want to use a blend of the two. Is that sort of what this looks like? Yes.
I mean, it could be as simple as
that. That's very, very cool.
It could be as simple as reaching into your oils and and saying, so let's say you look at all the books and you feel like you have an issue going on with your second chakra, and you just want to keep going toward rosemary, and you look at all the books and rosemary is not necessarily indicated. And so I don't want you to put rosemary back and say, that's wrong, I shouldn't use it, that's not going to work, it's not going to balance my chakra today. If you are reaching toward rosemary and you smell it and you feel better and I want to just say the word, it resonates with you, use rosemary. There's a reason for it that may be beyond your understanding at the moment, but it's not going to hurt you. And if you feel like it helps you, then you're not wrong. Oftentimes, I play a little, game with myself. I try to keep my intuition sharp, and I'm making a blend, and I don't go look things up. I will grab 2 or 3 things, and I did this the other day with spearmint, and spearmint. Like, you look in all the books, and spearmint's not necessarily indicated for a third chakra issue. And dang it, I wanted spearmint, and I'm like, why do I want so? But my physical, my mind body, my emotional body wanted to know. So I blended with it. I felt better. It felt great. But I always want to know why. I went and looked it up. And one of the qualities of spearmint is it's really expansive. I mean, if you think about how spearmint grows, you plant it in your backyard, it is going to just expand like wildfire. And my sense of personal power needed a sense of expansiveness at the moment. And that's why I needed spearmint. I didn't understand it at the moment, but I understood it later.
I love this so much because it seems like it's just this beautiful hybrid of left and right brain, and like not getting so caught up, because I think and of course I do, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast have that like giant book. Do you know the one that I'm talking? I'm sure there's a lot of them, but like that have like every oil and every medical condition ever listed, and it's like this giant encyclopedia. And what you're saying is like, you don't have to live in the context of that book. Yes, educate yourself. Yes, look things up. Yes, I mean, especially even afterwards, it's really interesting to kind of like reverse, figure out why you chose something. But that I love what I think is so exciting for me about what you're saying here is because, especially in a lot of the work I do with myofascial release and my own hands-on healing practice, which is much more physical than, it's energetic too, but that is that the body has this innate capability to heal. The body is a self-healing mechanism. The body wants to heal. So from that lens or viewpoint, it would make perfect sense that our body and our sense of smell would be able to point us or sniff us in the direction of the oils that are going to be the most healing for us in any given moment, given our intention. So I can literally sit and say, I'm trying to work with my first chakra today. I'm trying to feel more safety in my life, and then start smelling some things and seeing what I'm drawn to.
Right. And trust your inner wisdom, trust your own information. Now, I know, like, having said that, like, everybody listening is going to be, well, that's great, Ellen, but like, can you give us some places to get started? Because that's really kind of, that's, like, we just like, we want to know some to buy, we want to know some to work with. And I'm going to do that as well. But I just want to put that out there. And just to give people that sense of, if something doesn't match with them, it doesn't resonate with them, like it's okay, or something that does, it's okay too.
Ellen, are any of these oils so powerful that they could like someone could accidentally hurt themselves. Like I often hear, clary sage or, shouldn't be used at certain times in pregnancy, or, there's all sorts of kind of like scary things you hear. So in your experience, is this something people need to be worried about when picking the oils intuitively, or would our body kind of steer us away from that anyway? Or I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Not worried about, but have respect for and aware of. So this is why I say when you get an oil, read up on it. Like know the physical issues, know the physical properties, because you may pick it for subtle reasons, but it's still going to have an impact on the emotional and physical body. And there's still things that may have contraindications, reasons not to use at certain times, are going to still stand true. So, so I'm talking about picking an oil that may already be in your treasure chest. But when you get the oil, it's really important to be familiar with it and what some safety concerns may or may not be. So that's definitely important to do for sure. So some people say, okay, I'm going to trust my intuition, but can you give me some? Because I've gone through that with people, and then they kind of just look at me with this glazed look, and they're like, okay, but can you tell me how to get started? And so,
or it's like when you're in the department store and like you're smelling so many perfumes, and they're like, they all just smell the same. I don't know.
Right. So I want to give you a couple pathways, and I want to give you a couple pathways to get started. I mean, I'm still a student of this myself, and getting to sort of, it's like layers and layers of complexity that you can get into, and and if you're into this, I mean, it just gets really cool. But let's just keep this simple for today. So, excuse me, the most obvious and the most simplistic form is looking at the color of the plant and or the oil and thinking about the color of the chakra. So for the first chakra, that could be oils like vetiver and patchouli. For the second chakra, it could be oils like orange and tangerine. For the third chakra, it could be lemon and grapefruit. For the fourth, it could be bergamot, which is a green oil, rose, green mandarin. For the throat chakra, the German and the Roman chamomiles are beautiful blues. For the sixth chakra, we could be looking at blue yarrow or clary sage. And for the seventh chakra, elemi, jasmine, and frankincense. Now, every one of those I just gave could resonate with other chakras as well, but I'm just trying to just kind of keep this simple, and also oils that are accessible.
And those are based on the colors of the chakra matching with the color of the plant that oil comes from, correct?
The plant or the oil.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So that's the most simple way to get started. And then another, like if you want to go kind of to the next level, the other area that a lot of people look at is at the part of the plant, like what that part of that plant does. And definitely this would take some more study, but I just want to kind of give some generalized thinking. So like if it comes, and this is where knowing where your oils come from as well. So like a root, something that comes from the root of the plant is like vetiver is going to be grounding and supportive. I mean, if you think of what the energy of that plant part does, something that comes from a fruit is going to be very, and the root is, and the grounding and the supportive is going to, resonate with the first chakra. And not only the first chakra, but again, I just want to keep some simple lists here for folks. The fruits in general are nurturing, and so that could resonate with the second and the third chakra. Seeds are about creation and potential growth. So something that comes from a seed could be the second and the third chakra. Essential oils that come from woods are about strength, and also when you think about the woods conduct nourishment, so that sort of sense of nourishment and internal wisdom, and that could be the first and the sixth and the seventh chakra. And oils that are like frankincense, for example, is a resin, and resins come from a wood when a wood is cut are scarred, the resin actually comes to seal the wound in the wood. So they're wound healing. They're also protective and reflective and bring you into the spiritual realm as well. So a resin could help with the first and the sixth and the seventh chakras. If they come from the leaves and the needles and the grasses, this is kind of about breathing and respiration. And also, if you think about photosynthesis, the process of photosynthesis, I like to think about them in terms of transformation. So this could be, the fourth chakra, the fifth chakra, and flowers are often associated with manifestation and love. So the second and the fourth chakra. So if you kind of get to know your oils, you can begin to look at that as well. Another aspect of knowing your oils is that if you know the physical and psychological effects, often they can be used on that subtle level as well. So, for example, Patricia Davis gives the example of Roman chamomile, which is extremely anti-inflammatory on the body. But if you think about what an anti-inflammatory does, it calms down something that's red and hot and kind of angry, but it can also do that for the spirit. Juniper is used as a detoxifier, but in subtle aromatherapy, it's also used to clear negative energy. So you can, if you set your intention and you know what that essential oil is used for in traditional aromatherapy, you can set an intention and begin to think about how you might want to use that in subtle aromatherapy.
What you're saying is so cool because it really reminds me, and I think people forget this, myself included sometimes, just because we're like so excited about having this magical potion in a jar that we forget that it comes from a plant. And
right.
What we really need to study, and it seems especially if we're still working with our intuition, getting to know oils and wanting to pick the right ones for the chakras, that we can actually look at the plant, and it makes so much sense to me the way you described it, whether it's the color of the plant or the part of the plant, of how we can, get started and pick one. It just makes so much logical sense.
Right. And then here's some of the more, just again, so that's just that, those are kind of, sort of introductions. I want to give people some like just a short list of some of the more popular ones. Like these are ones that most aromatherapists, subtle aromatherapists do agree on. But that being said, I don't want to plant the seed that if it doesn't work for you, it's okay. It doesn't work for you. It's like, that's totally, 10 other aromatherapists can tell you, oh, try vetiver. And if vetiver isn't floating your boat, don't worry about it. It's not you. It's just not. Everybody is an individual, so it's totally cool. But here's some of the more popular ones, and then I want to get into how to work safely with them. So first chakra, and these are here for a mix of some of the reasons that I've mentioned to you before, and even getting into some more levels of complexity in terms of how the plants are in nature. I mean, even people studying this for much longer than I do, they look at where the plants grow and how the plants grow, and are they climbers, or do they hug the ground, and the geography, and is it a hot climate? I mean, so it's like there's so much more to this. So the oils on this list can be here for any number of reasons, but I just want to say that first, to keep it simple, these are fairly popular, and most folks seem to agree this is I'll say it's a good starting point. So first chakra, and again, I wanted to keep it to oils that are accessible, both in terms of being easy to find and easy on the budget. Myrrh, vetiver, patchouli. Second chakra, jasmine, which can be pricey, but you only need a little bit, so we'll come to that. Orange, and cardamom. Third chakra, cypress, especially if you're going through a transition. Laurel, bay laurel is really about courage, and pine. Fourth chakra, you might look at rose otto, or rose, or bergamot. Fifth chakra, German and Roman chamomile. Sixth chakra, we're looking at clary sage. And again, you're not going to use this in pregnancy. And really, at plant therapy, we recommend not using essential oils at all in the first trimester. We'll come back to that. So sixth chakra, clary sage, rosemary, lemon, sandalwood, and the seventh chakra, things like Palo Santo, myrrh, frankincense, and even jasmine there again. So those are just like, that's not a, I mean, these lists, I mean, we could go on for pages and pages, but I just wanted to give people a starting point because I love learning and I love hearing like all the, about possibility, but my mind also wants, like I love hearing about possibility, but my mind often says, okay, but give me somewhere to start. So hopefully I've given you that as well.
Oh, that's so great. I really appreciate it. And if it's okay with you, I'd love to share the list with folks below this podcast.
Sure.
So guys, if you like didn't catch them all, don't worry. We'll write them for you. And before we close, tell us about the safety aspect, because this is something I think so gets overlooked. I mean, I'm even reading a book that I love right now by a healer and someone who I just totally admire. But in chapters of this book, she's like, throw some essential oils in this bath recipe. And I'm just like, wait, is it even safe to like bathe with my oils? And I just think there's so much misconception out there. So I'd love your perspective on what you think is the most effective way to ingest these chakras when we're dealing with the chakra, ingest these oils when we're dealing with the chakras, whether it's through diffusion or something else, and just any other best practice safety tips you want to share with us.
Yeah, and I want to just come back to that word ingest, because ingest in aromatherapy means to actually take it in orally, and so that's a big, it's a big discussion right now out there. And for people who practice safe and appropriate aromatherapy, and even within the professional realm of aromatherapy, it's not that essential. And I know this is not what you meant, but I'm going to take the opportunity. It's not that it's not that essential oils cannot be ingested, but it's not for the home enthusiast. It's not for somebody who's not trained in aromatic medicine. I'm not even properly trained in how to. I learned about it in my training. I have not taken the advanced training in it, and so we're really talking about inhalation and topical. So I know that's not what you meant, Brett, but I just wanted to take that little opportunity to give that PSA because it's really the riskiest form and also the most wasteful and the least effective form of using essential oils. So that's
actually swallowing them and eating them is what she's talking about, guys. And I think what people forget too is that, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are just inhaling, your system's still ingesting all the benefits of the oil. It's not like you have to swallow these things to receive the benefits, right?
You're actually getting more into your if you do a direct inhale under the nose, your anywhere from 50 to 70% of the essential oil molecules go immediately into your bloodstream. So, and then go directly to the brain. For somebody who takes them orally, your digestive system's actually going to break it down, and then it's going to pass through your liver and break it all down. So unless you have some very specific internal issues, worms, parasites, a digestive issue, some illnesses, and you're working under the guidance of a trained aromatherapy practitioner, it's actually the least effective way to get the benefits of aromatherapy. So,
Thank you. That's such a good reminder, because I think sometimes people are just diffusing and they think it's like, am I really feeling this? Is anything happening? And like the answer is yes.
So onto the topic of using oils safely and appropriately for subtle aromatherapy. So Patricia Davis outlines this list. Work safely, which we're going to talk about. Use very little oil. Use very good oils. So first of all, you want to make sure they're pure and natural. Synthetic oils, are not. They may smell good, but they're not going to do anything for you therapeutically or anything in a healing. Your Glade freshener is not going to work here. So you want to make sure the oils are vibrant. If you can get organic, that's fabulous, because the way they're grown has a lot to do with, their vibrational capacity. And, they may not be certified organic, but they may be grown organically or wildcrafted or unsprayed. And you want to work, work ethically. So we talked about that a little bit. but those are really important. You are always going to use less of a dilution rate for aromatherapy, for subtle aromatherapy, than you are for the body and mind. And this is because, so let's say you're using aromatherapy for the body and the mind. We're going to say a safe dilution is 1 to 2%, depending on if you're doing a whole body massage or you're applying it. You can go higher. You can go to 3% if you're dealing with a topical issue, but let's just use that 2% figure. But if you're coming at subtle aromatherapy and you're using the 2%, you're going to immediately overpower the subtle body, and it's going to go straight to working with the physical body, and the subtle body is not necessarily going to get the benefits that you're looking for. So when you're working with subtle aromatherapy, your dilution rate is no more than 1%, and like a half to 1%. So if you're diluting it in a carrier oil, you're talking about 3 to 6 drops per ounce, or 3 to 6 drops per two tablespoons. That's it. Let me talk about a couple approaches here. You could do a gentle physical massage to sort of balance the overall body, and again, you're going to use a half to 1%. So that's the 3 to 6 drops in 1 ounce of carrier oil, vegetable oil, or 2 tablespoons. And this is for overall balancing. You could do an energy field massage, which is the same, but you're stroking above the body. A lot of us use anointing, and this is one drop in 1 to 2 teaspoons of carrier. So this is for chakra balancing and protection. So this could be applied, so this gets back to our chakras. This could be applied directly to the physical body. You could massage the chakra in a gentle clockwise direction, or you could even do it 3 to 6 inches above the body. It would be diluted and on the hand, and it would be above the body, but you're never going to use the essential oils neat, which is undiluted.
And where can people get their carrier oil? Is that something that you can also buy on planttherapy.com, or
Absolutely.
Can they use like coconut oil that they have in their house, or it's very specific, was my impression, if it's a carrier oil?
It's so I like carrier oils that are natural. They can get their carrier oil, definitely Plant Therapy carries them. The one I like for energy work is jojoba oil, because jojoba is natural. There's also, you can use, if you really want to get into some of the organics, there's sunflower oil. The nice thing about jojoba oil is that it's all natural. It's not real oily. It sort of mimics the sebum of the skin. It's actually a nice massage oil too. I bring blends to my therapeutic massage therapist, and she loves working with it. So, but it's natural, but it's very shelf stable. So you can, as long as you don't have it in the heat or in the sun, it'll last, a year, 2 years. And so you invest in it, and, you'll have it for a while. Some of the other oils are going to be 6 months, 12 months. So I just, for somebody getting started, jojoba oil is a nice way to go. You'll see fractionated coconut oil in a lot of blends because it absorbs very readily. I like to use it, but for subtle aromatherapy, it's been highly processed. It's part of what makes it useful in aromatherapy, but for subtle aromatherapy, I like things a little bit closer to nature. So
if I wanted to, again, I'm just going to try to put this in lay terms. So if I wanted to massage my low back and maybe work on first and second chakra,
yep.
I would put the oils maybe in coconut oil. It's okay. But if I wanted to work on a subtle energetic level with first and second chakras, and maybe just put a little bit below my navel, and massage in a circle, I'd want to use a carrier oil for that, like the jojoba that you mentioned.
Right. And all carrier oil means is that you're taking an undiluted essential oil and you're putting it in a vegetable oil. And when you put those two together, you are diluting the essential oil so that it is safe to use. In addition to that, I want to mention too, it also makes it easier to spread, to move it around. And from a sustainability issue, we're seeing a loss of many of our crops right now. We can't get vanilla, it's hard to get sandalwood, helichrysum. I mean, we're seeing whole crops being wiped out, whether it's from, natural disasters or overuse. And so you're mixing them in the vegetable oil. You're practicing safety for yourself. You're able to move them around and use them a lot easier, and you're practicing really good sustainability for the earth. So
perfect. So that covers our safety in terms of topical, meaning that we're never just putting the oils directly on our skin. And I'm the biggest fan of like hot baths at night to wind down. So what's your perspective on oils in the bath?
I take a hot bath every single night. And what you can do, and this is what's happening in aromatherapy. So many of our aromatherapy leaders and teachers, wrote books 20 years ago. And it's only recently that we've started to look at things clinically. So you'll see many of the books will say put them in the bath, and we'll put them in the bath salts. And I think back then, it was not very many people were using aromatherapy, and people weren't using it every day. Like as an aromatherapist, I don't use oils every day. I just I don't use them all day, every day long. And so we're seeing now this preponderance of essential oils being out there. We're seeing a disconnect from the plants. We're seeing a disconnect from aromatherapy, and we have tons of people using tons of oil like all the time. And so we're seeing issues, and we're starting to see them, and we're starting to see many more adverse reactions. And so we've gone back to study those and looking at them from a clinical viewpoint and understanding now why that happens. So it's really easy to take a bath. It's really even easy to take an Epsom salt bath. You can put a maximum of 5 drops of essential oil. So even if you're doing a blend or one essential oil, the easiest thing to do, there's some authors that will say put it in a carrier oil, but you've got to use up to a teaspoon. And I took a really bad slip and fall in my tub after doing that last year, so I don't recommend it. So here's and I did it after an aromatherapist who happens to be an ER nurse told me not to, and I had to go back and admit to her that what I did. So here's what I do. Go get yourself some natural unscented body wash. Doesn't matter whose it is. Just go get some natural unscented body wash.
Would like the Dr. Bronner's Castile soap work for this?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And put that in a little dish and add 5 drops of your favorite essential oil, or a total of 5 drops of a blend, or a blend that already maybe is pre-blended for you, and mix it up. And mix it up good. And then put up to like half a cup of Epsom salts and mix that in. And now you can pour that into your running water, and your essential oils are going to be dispersed. The body wash acts as an emulsifier and a dispersant. It'll take your essential oils and it'll mix them into the water safely. And then you still get your essential oils, and you can take a lovely bath. And I do that every single night, and only once. I'm so fearful of running out of Epsom salts that like if I'm halfway through a bag, I go buy another one. So
me too, because I do a lot of yoga, so I'm often filming like 9 classes in one day if like the schedule is crazy. So for me, Epsom salts are a huge priority, and I'm so glad you taught me this, because I've always wanted to integrate my essential oils into the bath time, but I had just read so many different controversial things online that I never felt completely confident. And is there an unscented body wash brand that you really like to do this with?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, I think there's things that are put out by, there's one that I like by, I think it's called California Baby. And they're unscented, and this is really key. You've got to read the label, because there's things that say unscented, but they've got essential oils and things already mixed in. You can't smell them. They may be masking other things. And that brand, and I think there's some other brands, when you go and you read the back, it's got it's already got, eucalyptus and lavender, and it's like, oh my gosh, so it's like I use the unscented super sensitive body wash. And so I personally find Castile soap drying. I know there's the baby one. version. Yeah, couldn't get that word out, but the baby version, that's a little more gentle. But I find it, and your Epsom salts are going to be drying, and the hot water is going to be drying. So
and the Epsom salts you're making sure to buy unscented, I'm assuming, as well, just plain minerals.
Just plain mineral oil, nothing mixed in. Because there's a lot of stuff, every company is jumping on the aromatherapy bandwagon, and you'll find a lot pre-mixed and all that. So I want to do it myself. I want to know what's in there, and you just want to be careful you're not multiplying effect of what's already there. So the California Baby brand, I just happen to like that because they have one that's a super sensitive baby wash. It doesn't bother my skin. They've got really nice oils in there like calendula, and there's no other essential oils added in. Just read their label because they've got a lot that do have essential oils, but it really doesn't matter. And you know what, at this point, I mean, even if it's a synthetic one, I mean, it's safer than doing it unscented. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have anything in your house and you just want to use your unscented shampoo, go for it.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned that though, because the minute I said the Castile or the Dr. Bronner's soap, which I have, I was like, oh well, I wonder if that would be drying in the bath. So I'm glad you brought that up. So great. So we've covered bath time, and then diffusing is. Would you agree that that's the safest way that someone can work with oils if they're brand new and they just want to start off slowly?
Well, let me give you a couple simple ways and how they like, because you want to think about the approach. So we talked about the bath time, but we talked about the anointing, and really, I mean, you can just use your your teaspoons that you measure, that you measure in your kitchen, and put 1 to 2 drops in there. You can get what are called roller bottles. You can get those from Plant Therapy, and you can put your carrier oil in that. It's because those are 10 milliliters. Add 2 drops, and then you can just roll it on like roll-on perfume to whatever chakra you're working with. You can do direct inhaling. This is like when you want to change a state of awareness. So you can just really just add 1 drop to a tissue or a cotton ball, hold it about 1 foot away, and wave it in the air. You can then use your diffuser. You want to use about 2 to 3 drops per 100 milliliters, because again, you're going to take it down a couple notches from how you might otherwise. And I use my diffuser. I think it's great for meditation. And then you can do misting, where you're setting boundaries, and that's 3 to 6 drops. We used to say just put it in water and shake it up. Now, again, we know more. And without having to get into the whole long and complicated issue of preservatives, you can buy yourself some Everclear, take your 1 ounce bottle, put about 1/3 Everclear, 2/3, put your essential oils in, mix it with the Everclear, because it's pure grain alcohol. That's why you're using it. It's 60% ethanol. You put your 3 to 6 drops in that, shake it up, add the rest of the way with purified water and shake it up, and then you can mist and create some boundaries for yourself. If you do choose to put it in just plain water, folks say to use it up keep it in your refrigerator and use it within 3 days to a week. So again, we're learning more, and without having to get it really complicated. It's just, that's a whole different track with getting down that, so we don't even want to go down that. So yes, diffusing, direct inhaling. I mean, put it on a cotton ball. If you're going to mix it with, I also want to say, if you're going to mix it with the carrier oils, the vegetable oils, and you store it, you want to use glass or plastic that's called PET or PETE, PET plastic, because the essential oils will degrade regular plastic and leach that into your blend, and then you'll have all kinds of ickies that you don't want to be in contact with. So in aromatherapy, we use what's called PET plastic, or glass.
This is amazing. I feel like you've given us so many great tips and just clarified so many things for me personally that I've always wanted to ask about. Before we close, is there one book about essential oils and maybe safety and how the plants look? I mean, a lot of the amazing things that you've shared with us in this podcast that you'd recommend, or a favorite book of yours?
There's There's a lot of, there's so many books, but the one that I think for folks getting started that just kind of want to have a one-stop shop with lists of oils and the chakras and techniques and dilutions and percentages and approaches and so on and so forth. I really like a book called Aromatherapy and Subtle Energy Techniques. It's by Jody Keim, Keim, and Ruah, Ruah Bull. And there's the old version and there's the new version. So I would get the updated version, and you can get that on Amazon. This book is a little more expensive, and you have to order it from Australia. And I think it's like, I don't know, the last time I ordered it, it's like $50. But if you're looking for a way to do some affirmation and reflection and matching some oils with that, Robbie Zuck's book called The Blossoming Heart is just a gorgeous text on working with oils in that way, and I refer to it often. So that's, yeah.
So I will list all of these below. You've given us so many resources. A lot of them I'll probably put at brettlarkin.com/oils as well for you guys. So we have them there as a permanent reference. And I have tons of links to plant therapy from that page as well. So if you guys want to check out the oils that Ellen uses and that I'm now using too, you can do that. Ellen, this was so informative, and again, we'll put the resources below. Guys, if you haven't signed up for Ritual, do it. brettlarkin.com/ritual, because it's a really easy way to get started with chakra work and affirmations and yoga. And now that we have all this great knowledge, you can blend in your own aromatherapy as well. Ellen, thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. I hope I've given people a good place to start. And as I mentioned, if people have questions about aromatherapy in particular, one of the reasons I love plant therapy is that we have a whole aromatherapy team, and so there's information on the website about the oils. People in customer service can answer basic questions, and if people have specific questions, they can email at aromatherapist@planttherapy.com, and we're happy to answer questions. We want people to love the oils, but we want them to practice safely and appropriately, and that's it's part of our culture and part of our mission, and we want to be available and accessible to them for that. So
perfect. I'll put that email below as well.
Okay.
Thanks, Ellen. Guys, we'll talk to you next time.
This episode was brought to you by Uplifted, Try Brett's membership community for people who want to enrich their life through yoga for free at brettlarkin.com/uplifted. Yoga obsessed? Join Brett for yoga teacher training at brettlarkin.com/train. And don't forget to give back. Like this podcast, leave a rating or review. Share this with someone you love.
Remember, now is the time to dedicate yourself to what matters most. From my heart to yours, namaste.